Hello Instagram. It's cool to see you guys here. I wanted to come in and talk to you today a little bit about ebb and flow because I have been learning quite a bit about this myself recently, and I thought it would be very useful to talk to you about my experiences. And yeah, so come in, say hi, drop an emoji, and we'll go from there. So basically, as a life coach, I'm always learning, always learning. There is always a place for me to be up-leveling who I am. And at the moment, I've been focusing on trying to get what we call feminine energy, more feminine energy into my being. Okay, so in your life, you've got both masculine and feminine energy. Whether you're male or you're female, both of those things exist. So in the masculine energy, there's a lot of doing, planning, scheduling, achieving goals, all those kinds of things. And the feminine energy is a lot of receiving, a lot of accepting, a lot of going with the flow, all those kinds of things. As you can probably imagine, when you've come from being a business owner, you've got to do a lot of action taking. So most of the time you're in that masculine energy where you are planning, you are scheduling, you are making shit happen, so to speak. And so it's excellent in terms of achieving goals. But when you want to increase your feminine energy, and I'll talk a bit about that in a minute, it's about switching yourself into a different gear. So why did I want to increase my feminine energy? Well, I find that in business, it's very much important to be intentional about how you are spending your time. And this is the same for people who aren't in business, for everyone. You know, you can't always be achieving goals and planning and being so focused on that, because if you are and something goes wrong, then it feels like your life is being thrown upside down. And I used to experience this previously because when I was younger and my goal was to play Premier League soccer or football, which I achieved, by the way, it was always about what is the next trial I get to, the next team I get selected for, and all of those things. And so the goals and that masculine energy, I guess, was always there because that was always the thing that I had to do. But things were always a little bit more devastating when those things weren't achieved. And it's only really when I got into coaching did I understand the importance of flowing a little bit more. And so recently I've been tapping into it more again because I'm scaling my business up. So some people might know that I've gone from helping people in 3 countries to people in 10. And my client numbers within those 10 countries have increased rapidly. And so with that, you get excited, you know, like, oh wow, all the more people I can positively impact. How can this change? And unless you are intentional and mindful and pause, you can get stuck in that masculine energy and not have that space to flow in your feminine energy and to really see the greatness of what flow creates for you. So that's what I'm here talking to you about on Instagram today, and I really love it if you want to ask some questions about it, because the whole idea of flow is something that is not attributed to females or males. It's, as I said, it's in both genders, and it's essential that it is in both for just general health and well-being. So flow enables us to see that there's opportunity. You know, if we're always planning, we're only ever thinking of one outcome. So it's really sort of great to have that focus and that drive, but it actually sends us towards a fixed mindset more so. Whereas when we're focusing on a growth mindset, we have to have at least a portion of our energy being focused on flow and accepting the opportunity for things to come along and happen. So recently I have, notifications. Recently I have been going with the flow significantly to see where it would take me. And so for around about the last 3.5 weeks, I guess, I've been in this transition period, a little bit longer I suppose, of moving from Central Queensland region in Australia to the Sunshine Coast region. And I absolutely adore the Sunshine Coast region. Every time I go there, Caloundra is the area. Every time I go there, I don't want to leave, which is why I really want to settle there. But what I wanted to do was to really see where can this flow take me. It's kind of like a bit of a social experiment on myself. But I thought putting the mindset on of what are the opportunities could happen, this is a positive, really positive space to see how could I still be impacting the area which I grew up in, which is Gladstone in central Queensland. So I have allowed myself to be a little bit crazy and spontaneous, I guess, in a sense, and it has been super positive, and that's the thing that I wanted to share with you. So I decided that in my move to the Sunshine Coast that I would stay in accommodation places for people that are on holidays instead of getting a rental, so that I had the flexibility to be in the flow more so. I'd never done anything like this before. And it's meant that, you know, things are not rigid and things are not fixed and things are quite flexible. And ultimately, people around me don't really know what's going on. But what's happened since I've decided to do this is I've actually ended up staying in the Gladstone region a little bit more, which is fine. I've had people ask me about being MC for speaking events, which is cool. I've had people ask me to sort of mentor them for their businesses, which had been taking quite a long time to sort of get happening in my area because I was so fixed on the way that it had to happen. And that's a key thing I wanted to speak to you about, is because we have these plannings and we have these goals and we have the decision about how things in our life should happen with our businesses, with our careers, especially with relationships is very familiar, particularly with women, sometimes with men too, but particularly with women, and that we have this idea of how everything's meant to look. And when it doesn't work that way, we think that maybe everything's going to shit. Excuse my language. But the reality is a lot of the time it's actually all working out perfectly. And we've got more opportunities happening. So I really wanted to come in here and explain to you that, and to give you the challenge, I guess, explain to you what's been happening with me, and to give you the challenge that you have an opportunity right now over this weekend, over the next couple of weeks, to see, should I just stop planning so much and create more space for feminine energy and see where it takes me? And it might be very challenging for you, but it also might create some more energy for you. For me personally, I decided to be focused on one thing instead of many things. That can be difficult for people in businesses or people in general because our lives are so geared on multitasking, and it's very much advertised sort of in society as being the best thing you can do, especially amongst women. You know, we're always talked about being amazing because we can multitask, and men do the one thing and they know how to do that well and better than women, but multitasking actually just makes us feel tired. And so enabling us to flow that little bit more and to put down the multitude of things and do one thing or two things in a week instead, and giving ourselves some space will change things. So for me, in this last week in particular, I've actually I've been busier in a sense, but calmer. So I've actually onboarded more clients in the past week. I actually have had more time to go exercise than normal. I've had time to actually watch television shows, which is bizarre. I don't really watch too much TV, but I've actually really enjoyed that space. I've had more time to be creative. And even yesterday, I sat down and had a chat with a 75-year-old lady and listened to her life story. And those are things that I wouldn't have allowed myself to have the time to do before too much, you know, because of the checklist in my head. And so I really wanted to talk to you about that, and just to say to you, get in the flow, experience the opportunity of what could happen, and let's stop be focusing on this intention all the time to have to, you know, to set these goals and they have to happen now, you know. I had said to people, I'm going to the Sunshine Coast on this date, and then I went, you know what, this has happened, I'm going to roll with it. And people have gone, you know, I don't think she's going to follow through on that. But the reality is when you have good level of self-love and you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So people have seen, for me, particularly my close friends in the Gladstone region, At the moment I've been going, what's going on with Jules? What's happening? But the reality is that what's happening is I'm doing what's best for me, and I'm going with the flow, and I'm seeking opportunities. And if my mind was on a one-track motion, then there is no space for things to sort of bump into me and go, hey, what do you think about this? So I encourage you to allow yourself to be swayed to the things that might just set yourself on fire in a real positive way and light you up a bit, and see where it takes you, because it's only been really positive for me. And I hope you have a really fantastic weekend. And please do drop me any messages if you like. I've been loving getting the messages lately in my inbox. It's been fantastic, and I look forward to doing a live again soon. And catch you later. Ciao. Whoopsie, still going. Flow, run with it, huh?